Judge Jeanine, AOC and the squad, they have a lot of influence, and they are members of Congress, a serious job. So to say that kind of thing, it just astounds me. How do you feel?
Well, it astounds me, too. I spent 32 years in law enforcement as a DA and then, as a judge on the bench. Look, the idea that America can exist without law enforcement is bizarre. It will be a return to the kind of anarchy we've seen on the streets in these leftist cities all summer, and it's coming back to a town or village near you. The problem is, and Jesse, you asked the question perfectly, the problem is when you're a member of Congress and you promote that kind of ideology that, the police are not enforcing the law and that there are basically rogue cops out there looking to commit violent crimes against African Americans. I prosecuted a white cop for killing an African American. Little did I know it was the first time in the history of New York it happened. But you show me where these kinds of crimes are not prosecuted. Prosecutors across this country are prosecuting law enforcement when they're out of line for police brutality and police abuse. And you show me anyone in America who thinks they'd rather not have a cop available to them when they've got a problem. This is nonsense. It's pure hate. And what they're doing is they're creating a dangerous environment for police. And in this particular case, in 3 days, they indicted a police officer. She is now indicted for manslaughter in the second degree. She is facing 10 years in prison. Within 3 days, they indicted her. What does the mob want? Derek Chauvin is on trial for murder. What does the mob want? This is the way the system works. And any other call for getting rid of the police is sick.
Yeah, and she should have been indicted. That was just fatal and tragic mistake. Greg Gutfeld, tell me about the language coming out of the squad's mouth and also about Antifa coming to this neighborhood. We all know what happens when that occurs.
Well, actually, I mean, when they come there, what happens? They're just an idea, Jesse. Please, please.
Yeah,
Look,
sorry, you're right.
Yeah. Let's remember how the media stokes this in their use of language. Chris Cuomo, if you remember, said who says protests have to be peaceful? The Constitution. Don Lemon said that there was absolutely no problems with violence, and for proof, he went and had dinner. And that was pretty brave of him to go to Midtown and have dinner. And then you have Cuomo saying that Antifa, after all, stands for anti-fascist. Then you've got venerable institutions like certain magazines like The Atlantic talking about how looting is kind of a form of reparations and justice. So we've kind of sanctioned a specific kind of behavior. And I said this, I guess I said this on Monday or Tuesday. I can no longer remember. But every story generally has a beginning and an end. But these stories don't. The beginning is a cop made a tragic error, and she's going to be charged with it, and her life and her career is going to take a drastic, tragic turn, as I guess it should. The suspect resisted arrest. He was out, I guess, on warrant for attacking a woman, robbing and attacking a woman, aggravated robbery. None of that matters, though, because when it comes to the media, every case, which are, let's say, 25 to 40 of these cases, white and black, have to be the same. They all have to be treated uniformly, that they are the product of a racist institution. Even if there's a tragic mistake, even if there was a black officer there, and there was a lot of other variables involved. And so when you look at this, you see that there's no beginning, and then you look at the end and you go, well, where does this go next? It never goes anywhere, right? It just happens again. And when we cover it, and I mean we, the news media, do we ever wonder how our observation affects the outcome? We know it does. And we also know that nothing ever gets better from this. So it's time, I think, for us to look in the mirror and go, how does our coverage stoke this stuff? The media does some pretty responsible things when reporting on suicides and also in mass shootings. They decide not to say the names, or they decide not to divulge how the person committed suicide because they don't want to give people ideas. In this case, we just point the cameras and we hope for action. And when we get the action, we're bracing for another night of unrest. We are bracing for it. Bracing means looking forward to. That's what it means. And we always begin the sentence the same way. Riots broke out. Riots broke out. Who's breaking the riots out? We never say.